two, fight. Welcome back. So Big Reactions Part Two. Thanks for having us. Here with Ian and Casey. Want to touch on a little bit of NFL news. So big contracts being given out in San Francisco. Big contracts.
He ain't irrelevant anymore.
Not irrelevant anymore. Mr. Brock Purdy getting
Making
paid.
enough to afford a one-bedroom apartment in San Francisco, am I right?
Probably true. Probably
The funny
true.
thing is, I think for a while, he was living with a roommate. I remember that was a big
Yeah.
story when he first came in. But shout out to Brock Purdy. I'm fucking shocked, to be completely honest with you. I didn't know what
Speaking
they were gonna do, but I didn't think they were gonna pay him.
speaking of Brock Purdy, did you guys know that in 2017, the same year that Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes were drafted, same year,
Okay.
the San Francisco 49ers held the third overall pick. They were not scoping any of the quarterbacks drafted in that draft class. Not Mitch Trubisky, not Patrick Mahomes, not Deshaun Watson, none of them. Do you know why?
Why?
Because they were of the opinion that Kirk Cousins was going to leave Washington that next offseason. And
I
they were
heard that
dead.
theory the other day. hmm
Well, this is directly from Adam Schefter.
I saw a video about it.
You may know this. Um, so they were dead set convinced that they were going to get Kirk Cousins the next offseason. So they didn't invest anything, really much of anything, looking into a quarterback. The only quarterback that did any sort of deep dive investigation on was CJ Beathard, who they traded up for in the third round.
That worked out
Now,
beautifully.
well, here's how it gets interesting because New England gets involved too. Because later that year, around Halloween, New England calls San Francisco and says, "We need to offload Jimmy Garoppolo. Will you give us a second round pick?" And San Francisco obviously does. So that puts the Kirk Cousins conversation out the window.
hmm
Fast forward 4 years later, CJ Beathard leaves San Francisco for Jacksonville, which gives them a seventh round compensatory pick, which turned into Brock Purdy.
It's crazy how many stories like that unfold in the NFL, man. I'm not shocked by that one bit. And
But they passed on
like,
potentially Patrick Mahomes.
There was
but
some.
no,
Mhm.
nobody thought Mahomes was going to turn into what he has.
Kansas City obviously did. They traded up to the 10th pick to get him.
I mean, I don't think they expected this.
Maybe not this level, true, but yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things where you're almost grateful for the 49ers that it happened if you are the 49ers, because obviously now you have a sustainable, solid quarterback like Brock Purdy. Like, he's not top 10, he's not top 12, but he's shown
Top
he can be
20.
he's shown that he can be competent enough. Like, he's gotten them to a Super Bowl. That's
Mhm.
more than a lot of quarterbacks can say. So you can make that
Yeah.
argument that it was a win for them for making that decision. Not a Patrick Mahomes level win, obviously, but obviously a clear win over Deshaun Watson and obviously any other quarterback in that draft, to be honest, too, and a clear win over Kirk Cousins.
And also in that draft, Christian McCaffrey was also drafted in that. It was in that draft as well. They eventually got him.
And yeah, say they got him anyways.
No, but another thing to note, and we talked about earlier today, that there's going to be some new jerseys coming out
I'm
for
excited.
some NFL franchises, particularly the NFC East and the AFC East for the rivalries games this year, and I am so looking forward to it. Miami is reportedly coming out with a Miami Vice color scheme,
I
which
saw those jerseys look so clean.
they really do. I mean, I'm not a Dolphins fan by any stretch of the imagination, but those are sick. But it's the
So I
AFC
don't know if you
East and the
guys.
NFC East who are coming out with the rivalry series this year.
So I don't know if you guys have seen the tour. I don't want to call it a tour, but the rounds that CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens have been making together and the interviews that they've been doing. I like the camaraderie early. They're both saying, look, we're both ones. There's no 1A, there's no 1B. We're both ones. Apparently, George has met with Coach Schottenheimer is that what the hell? Schottenheimer, right? Yeah.
It's
Brian
Schottenheimer, yeah,
Schottenheimer.
correct.
Jesus Christ. Brian Schottenheimer. He's met with him multiple times, and they have nothing but high praises for him so far. And so, like I said, I think it's going to be as where he's on his contract year. He's looking to get his money. I think we're going to see the best of George Pickens this year. And I think this is great news for Dallas. Just throwing that out.
Good take. Good take. It's gonna be a fun NFL season, man. Do we have any overseas games this year? I'm sure we do,
So
but
many.
yeah.
So many. We have so obviously the season opens with Dallas and Philadelphia on that Thursday, but that next day we have Kansas City and the Chargers.
It cut out. Where are they playing?
In Brazil.
We may have lost J-Dog.
Did we lose J-Dog?
Man, I don't know. I must have accidentally put his ass in the waiting room like around the horn or
No, that was
something.
me. That was my own screw up. I touched my headphones and it knocked me out. That's
So,
on me.
Justin, I actually saw something about the Patriots that I want to run by you too.
Sure.
And so it's specifically related to Drake May.
Okay.
And they were talking about what a successful year would look like for Drake May stat wise. And I
Okay.
want to get your opinion on this. Do you think it's going to be higher, lower, or do you think they have this pretty much right on the money?
Okay.
So they're saying anywhere between 32 to 3,600 yards,
Mhm.
anywhere between 24 to 29 touchdowns, and 8 to 11 interceptions.
Dead on.
Dead on?
Dead on. Maybe a little shallow on the yards, potentially, because I think they can get a lot of yards after catch, potentially.
Okay.
But in terms of the touchdown interception ratio, yeah, I want at least a 2-to-1 ratio.
2-to-1 ratio is going to win you football games.
Exactly.
And the reason that I think that that's a solid mark to base it off of is, of course, I mean, biasly, you want your quarterback to have 0 interceptions, but that's
Of
never
course.
going to happen. But that's
think
never
that-
going to happen.
I think the closest
Ever.
Aaron Rodgers came 1 year with 2 interceptions in 1 year. I think that was the closest.
Right. Yeah. He was a different beast. But
Yeah.
I mean, a 0 interception season from a quarterback who's going to start every game, barring injury, of course, not a realistic thing to ask for.
No.
It's so I think that would be a fantastic sophomore year for Drake May.
If he can go through the year with less than 12 interceptions, maybe less than 10, less than 10 might be a little would be a little on the greedy side. But sub 12, yeah, I'll be very, very happy with that.
Yeah. And especially if you're sub 3,200, if you're over 3,200 yards
Mhm.
and above 23 to 24, 25 touchdowns, somewhere in that area with only
Mhm.
8 interceptions, that's a successful year, and that's going to win you ball games.
That could get you in the playoffs. That level of productivity.
Yeah, 100% it could. And so that they said that's what they would depict as a successful season for Drake May, and I agree.
And honestly, with the Patriots having the third easiest schedule on, at least on paper, there's no excuse for them not to have such a successful season.
Speaking of schedule, holy shit, Dallas has a gauntlet after week 10. Philly, Kansas City, Detroit, Minnesota, the Commanders, the Chargers. That is a gauntlet schedule.
Right now, I'd say they're losing 4 out of the 6 right now.
Right, yeah, on paper, sure. I mean, we never know what's going to happen in the course of the season, so that.
But on
subject to
paper, they
change,
lose
but
4 out of 6 in that stretch, in my opinion, right now. On paper.
potentially, I could see it going 3-3, 2-4, 4-2, somewhere there, depending on how the ball falls. You know what I mean?
Of course.
so many different variations that I'm grateful that the first 10 weeks outside of the Philadelphia game week 1 make a case that Dallas should be 9-1 at that point in the season when
I
you look
mean,
at it.
that's their cake schedule. I mean, that's a really cake first 10 weeks. Once again, New England has 13 weeks of onslaught until their bye week in week 14, which I can't stand the fact that the bye week's so late in the year.
That's too
But
late.
it really is. But at the same time, they have a really cushy schedule in general.
They
In
do.
general, I mean,
They do.
I mean, based on paper, they have no business having any less than 9 to 10 wins
I agree.
on paper.
Yeah, again, this is all on paper. I agree with that. And Ian, your Rams schedule is looking pretty favorable too.
Yeah, let me go and pull that bad boy up. I was looking at it. We play the Saints. We get to play them at home. We open the
That's an easy
season
win.
with, let me see. I was just looking at that shit right as we were talking about it. So we are going to open the season. Sorry. I love them schedule release videos they do now. Okay. So we're gonna start off the season on September. Let me see, is that not March? Let me go to NFL.com, my bad.
Yeah, speaking of which, I'm going to the Patriots Steelers game week 3. That's gonna be fun.
Nice. Yeah, that's
That's going to be
gonna
hellacious. That's going to be a hellacious week in your house, Justin.
so
Actually no, because we're actually already going down to Pennsylvania for my sister-in-law's wedding. So that
Mhm.
weekend, so she my sister-in-law gets married the day before. So the day after, we're going to the game.
Speaking of hellacious timeframes in households, gentlemen, as you know, my wife's a Chiefs fan. You guys know the Cowboys, they play the Chiefs. Do you know what day?
Isn't it on her birthday?
No, her birthday's in February.
Oh, okay.
Thanksgiving.
Oh, oh,
Thanksgiving Day. The Chiefs come into Jerry World to get mollywopped by the Cowboys.
fucking watching you damn well know they're
all right, I got the Rams schedule. Hold up, let me go through this bad boy. So Houston, that's a fucking L. Then we go at Tennessee, at
That's
Philly,
not
at
an
home.
L.
It's not an L. It's not an L unless Nico Collins and Tank Dell aren't at 100%. It's not an L.
I just don't like us to open the season. I think we catch our stride as the year goes along. Ultimately, our schedule ain't looking too bad. We get to play
Oh, it's
Baltimore
a
on the
favorable
road.
schedule.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
mean
good schedule.
yeah, I mean we play Tampa. Any of our somewhat tough games we play at home. We finally get to play Detroit at home. We have to play. I mean, there's nothing on the schedule that really concerns me. Back to the playoffs.
The
Right.
only really
No, I
concerning stretch for the Patriots is they have 3 straight road games. Bills, Ravens is in two of the 3.
those are probably 2 L's, just with how young the Patriots are and how developed the Bills and the Ravens are. On
The
paper, again, on
Right, but the
paper,
only
those
thing I would say right now is the Bills game is coming right off the bye, so they may be a little bit better, well prepared for that one.
that's time to prepare. I get that. That's fair. I mean, coming off the bye, you never know what's going to happen. You have that extra week.
But they go off the bye and go on 3 straight road games. So
That's tough because that means you don't play a home game for almost a month.
yeah, so
You guys, the NFL season is right around the corner now. I mean, you got to think about it. The preseason starts in less than 2 months.
It's crazy how fast it's gonna go by, man. We're gonna have a lot of I don't know, man. I like minor league baseball, but there's no real investment. I mean, hell, I have more of an investment in college baseball, man. Just because, I mean, NFL
So
though, and just let's get some football back, man. Let's just get it back.
the NFL season, me and my friends have a running joke about the NFL season, and what one of us will do every year without fail after the first kickoff on the first preseason game, someone will text, "The season's already almost over," and it feels
NFL flies more than any other season, bro.
of an eye. It's here, and voila, it's gone.
The
the
NFL
one
to
season that takes forever a year is baseball, and that's because it's 162 games.
and
Speaking
because it
of
just drags
baseball,
through the summer. That's why. It just
speaking
drags
of
throughout.
baseball, Justin, what is going on with the Sox again?
I told you
They've
they're a
lost.
mediocre team. I've said
They've
that,
lost what, 9 one-run games this season?
something like that. They
How
just
are
did.
they losing
They
this
just took
many
they just
close
took down
games?
a. It's their bullpen. It's the
That's fair.
Weistert and Garrett Whitlock have not been any semblance of any kind of shutdown closer, set of man, whatever you want to call him. And
Yeah.
Chapman it's a closer by committee. Honestly, that's what it is. That's what it has been all year.
Aroldis Chapman doesn't seem like he's even close to his prime anymore.
He's not. He's not. He's in the twilight of his career, and there's nothing wrong with that. He can still get sling at 98 miles an hour. He's not burning at 105 like he used to.
No,
But-
he's not.
That
But
pitch
he
was
can
so
still
crazy, bro.
He can still sling it. He just doesn't. He's just not as. He's not the flamethrower that he was before. But he's still effective.
No, but Mariano Rivera, Trevor Hoffman, those are all great examples of you don't need to be a flame burner when you're a closer. You just
No,
need to have two. You need two solid pitches
maybe 3 at most.
at most. At most, 3 would be a godsend.
For a
But
closer,
just-
absolutely. For a closer, absolutely.
Speaking
Two
of-
solid pitches is truly what you need.
Speak of Oklahoma City, not Oklahoma City, Boston. They're playing the Mets right now on TBS, and Oklahoma City is currently losing 8-3 against Minnesota early in game 1. So we'll see.
What do you boys say we get to the question?
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good with
Who's
me
got
too,
it?
man. I had a fun show. I don't know what's I think I had it last week about what the most fun play in sports was. The unassisted triple play, man. That's it's a hell of a thing I learned about. I mean, I've heard about it, but I want to see if one of you guys has the question because I had it last week,
I have a question.
for sure.
Okay, let's hear it, Justin. Let's
Of
hear it.
all of the major sports trophies, which, if you were to be a player in any one of them, which would you pick to win? Which trophy would you
The
want?
Stanley Cup.
Lombardi.
You know, I would say probably Lombardi for myself. I would say that I have actually come up close in personal encounter with the World Series trophies for the Red Sox, at least the first 3 that they got in recent memory. And they're not very big trophies. They're kind of blah, but they're really they're not like the like you would think of a world championship trophy, but they're pretty cool. Not gonna lie.
Repeat the question one more time.
Of all of the major sports trophies that you could win, which one would you want the most?
The Lombardi. It has to be the Lombardi.
Stanley Cup. What the fuck?
Why this? Why would you say the Stanley Cup?
It's like 30 feet tall.
I figured for you would be the. I figured you would be the Larry O'Brien.
I mean, of course, I mean that's playing basketball. That's what you dream of. But I mean, to just that moment of just you skating around.
That's fair.
Cup
No, I
over
get
here.
that.
That seems
I
so.
get that.
And then also
No.
too, because the cup has every player that's ever won it engraved. I mean, obviously, like I play basketball. Like if I was to be an athlete, I'd want to win a basketball championship. But if you're
Yeah.
talking about just a trophy that I just get the most thrill out of hoisting, oh yeah, the Stanley Cup by a long shot.
So-
I'll probably drop that bitch.
Those are kind of quick answers. So let's go with another quick question here. I'll just think
For
one
sure.
on top of my head
Sure.
really quickly here.
I just
Um,
thought that one off the top of my head. So
That was a good question. I liked it.
Who's the biggest what if in sports history?
Oh man, these are
oh man,
hard hitting questions. I
Like,
know
what
what
is the
Casey's
biggest what
gonna.
if? Or who is the biggest what if?
Yeah, who's the biggest what if? Like what player?
I know what Casey is gonna say. Lynn
You don't know
Bias.
nothing.
You know,
I'm not saying
I know
my
you-
bias.
I know who you are going to say. I know
D
exactly who
Rose.
you're gonna say. No, Brandon Roy.
How did I not know that?
No, but Tony Canigliaro for the Red Sox.
That's a great answer. I think Bo Jackson's a good answer too.
Bo Jackson's a good one. What would have happened if Brady didn't get hurt?
You mean Bledsoe?
Yeah, if Bledsoe didn't get hurt. Yeah, if Bledsoe didn't get hurt.
I think that's a great what if too. I mean, I'm not saying my answer is 100% Brandon Roy, but when you look at the talent level that Brandon Roy had, he was getting called the next Kobe. He had every move in his arsenal. He was a tremendous shot maker, when a fantastic athlete, and he had that killer instinct in him. If you watch these former NBA players talk about how good Brandon Roy was, they will tell you he was an assassin on the court, and he was one of the great young phenomenal players. His ankles couldn't hold up.
For
If
me,
Ryan Leaf didn't blow up,
Oh my God, Ryan Leaf. If Jamarcus Russell actually studied a playbook, that's another great one.
Instead of lying and saying he did. No, but
Yeah, instead of getting a blank CD from his head coaches and saying, "Oh, I studied it," that
Purple
is
Rain.
embarrassing.
my
Yeah, that
biggest
Purple
what
Rain came out.
if is if the Blazers chose Michael Jordan. I mean, because you think
That's a
about
really great answer too.
Jordan Brand, like you think about just look at Jordan's impact just on everywhere. You know what I mean? And he's playing his shy town. Like, what if he goes to Portland?
I've got
Like,
one
I
for
think
you.
it.
Wide right.
If,
that
Scott
would have
Norwood.
kickstarted a dynasty. I don't know. Before we get, I don't. It was before a Super Bowl, probably like 6 years ago. They did like an alternate timeline. You guys might have seen it, but the Bills won. He made the kick, and it
Hmm.
kickstarted down. You know what I'm talking about? It was like a
Yep.
future
I,
before the
I know
Super
what you're
Bowl.
talking about. Yep.
Could
Yeah.
you imagine being a Bills fan though, especially in that time frame? Your team goes to 4 straight
Great.
Super Bowls, and you
Yeah.
lose every one of them.
I mean, I could say
Every
that the Patriots
single.
went to 3 straight. We lost. We lost one out.
All of
One of
them,
them, but still.
all of them, I might mind you, to NFC East teams. They lost one to Washington, they lost one to the Giants, and they lost two to Dallas.
And the fucked up part, the closest game was the first game they played.
Yeah, because they got shit on by Dallas twice in a row.
And Washington beat the dog shit out of them. I think that was the game when Thurman Thomas lost his helmet.
You
Or
guys
maybe that
know
was
if
Dallas game.
if Don Beebe hadn't have stripped Leon Lett when he was going
Mhm.
down in the end zone, it would have been the biggest route in Super Bowl history.
Well, they have 55 at that point, right? Or 50,
Yeah. I think the final score is 52-17.
The 85 Bears over the Patriots was worse. I think.
46-10.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, that one
so
was
well no, because wasn't Seattle beating Denver? What was the score of that game? Maybe it wasn't
55-10. 55-10.
that was I thought it was 43-8.
It was
uh
some god awful number. I was honestly, that was the one Super Bowl. Selfishly, I was hoping Peyton Manning would get shut out in the Super Bowl.
Mark Cuban bet that the
Game.
safety was gonna be the first score.
Yeah, that'll tell you sports is rigged, huh? Jesus Christ.
What if the Saints don't get the onside kick?
Oh, that's a tough one because the onside kick was to start the second half, so it's tough to say if that was
But that was a catalyst for the rest of the game for them.
or say this. What if on the third to last play of the NFC Championship game, Brett Favre doesn't throw across his body and just does roll
Yeah.
out and falls to the ground?
Right?
What if Wayne
This-
Gretzky stays his ass in Canada? You don't have
What
hockey
if-
on the West. You don't have the fucking Golden Knights. You don't have none of that shit. The Kings, Ducks.
Unbiased.
Yeah, that's Limbias for sure.
What if the refs
Yeah.
didn't? What if the refs didn't cheat us and ruled Des Bryant's fucking play a reception?
What if the refs didn't cheat the Sacramento Kings in 0-2?
What if the refs
Oh,
actually called a
man.
fumble and then the tuck rule didn't happen?
I was gonna say tuck rule too, but I didn't want to ruffle any feathers. We've
No,
had
that is
nice
rough. That is rough. Funny feathers. I mean, like I
No.
said in the chat, it was a fumble. Brady said it was a fumble. It was a fumble. They just got off on a technicality of the rule.
You
Ian,
him and Woodson
that
were
was-
talking about it.
That was my point in the chat about that, and I think I can say it better in person than I can over a text. Every team that has ever won a championship has gotten lucky breaks along the way to ensure them that title.
No,
Every team ever.
no,
Yes.
no.
Yeah, if in some at least maybe not the grandiose like, oh my gosh, they got away with whatever.
No, not
Okay.
necessarily that, but they had a few lucky breaks go their way
Yeah.
throughout the course of the season that put them in that position.
Yeah.
Every single team.
What about Philly?
Fuck Philly. What do you mean, what about Philly?
Philly was by and large the better team in the entire league last year, but they still had some breaks that went their way.
Yes,
for example,
100%.
For example, they've had the biggest break going their way for the latter part of the last 3 or 4 years with the tush push, which still might get banned.
I'm so
I mean,
torn
but is
if
that
that's the thing.
but that's something they execute well. I don't feel like that falls into the same category as like something they're getting a lucky break. I mean, nobody
No,
else
but
can do it
Ian,
like that.
what I'm talking about is go back and look at all their one score games from last year. You will find something with a break or two went their way throughout the course of the
That's
game.
fair. That's
With
fair.
Like an OPI that probably should have been called that wasn't, or a
exactly,
holding call that probably shouldn't have been called, or something like that.
exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly my point.
But then, I mean, but they finished as the 2 seed, like, and they won all their playoff games by double digits. Like, I mean, or like,
I mean, like, and it's
They didn't
not
beat the
just
Rams
in
by
the
double digits.
I thought it was like 10. Maybe we kicked a field goal. I think, or
no, it
maybe
was
we
No,
lost by,
the Rams were in position to go and win the game.
and
they
then we
were
didn't make it. But I thought they went and scored again. Oh no, maybe after that they just kneeled the ball.
yeah,
Okay,
that's
maybe,
all it
man,
was.
maybe it was whatever. But
No, but there've been but the lucky breaks that they had put them in the position to be the 2 seed to then go on the run that they did.
Yes, thank you, Justin. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
It's a
I mean,
roundabout way to say that everyone gets lucky and everyone cheats or whatever you want to call it, but every team that wins the championship has some sort of lucky break in some regard, whether it be minor, major, or whatever.
I can
It
name
goes
like
their way.
Exactly.
man,
Exactly.
that's a rabbit hole. We should really have man, because I really don't. The Warriors with the KD when he was there, like, come on, man, they were blowing
They
people
had
out
a
of the
lucky
water.
break getting Kevin Durant.
What if Tyree doesn't catch that damn ball? What if Asante Samuel catches that interception the play before?
What if COVID never happened?
Oh,
I don't know. Sports are really back to normal, bro. Like,
that wouldn't have changed the outcome of the 2020 NBA season. The Lakers were by far the best team in the league that year.
Yeah,
yeah,
well, I don't think that. I mean, in
mercenaries.
sports, I don't think that would have changed anything in the long run.
No, no.
But
But that was a great show, boys. I think it's time we end it. It's 9 o'clock here on the East Coast. Got to get up in the morning early for work, living the American dream. And Justin, especially in Toronto,
oh,
they're going to Canada.
oh, bring that tail, God and tears. Oh,
Everybody except Chris. Take your pants off when you listen to this show. Till next time.
Please don't do that, listeners. Don't do that. That's weird.
Me and Jesse gonna have a little fun. Bye.